Welcome to a soccer parenting discussion with Lori Lindsey, a retired women's national team player, professional player, college standout at UVA. Lori's from Indiana, which probably wasn't a huge soccer hotbed in the 80s and 90s. It was pretty much for the boys. The boys always did pretty well there, but
Yeah.
but from a girl standpoint, I know that you were probably one of the first arrivers to the scene. I know your dad was a big proponent of your early soccer education and focus, and you had an older brother who played. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with your dad. I understand you stopped playing for a little while when you were 13, and seems like that might have been a little bit based on your relationship with him. So let's, as we're at soccer parenting, trying to educate us parents, let's give us some advice.
His nickname was Crazy Lori Lindsey. And yeah, it was. Well, because one is he was our coach, my brother Chris and I's coach for a while, quite a while when we were growing up. And so, but he wasn't like the dad that was going to sit us down and help us with our math homework. He was the dad that was like building us soccer goals in the backyard so that like any free moment, we could go out and train on our own some more. And
would he force you to go, or would he just, the goal?
Oh, yeah, totally. So whenever we got home from school, we'd have to call him and be like, okay, we made it home safely. He's like, okay, you got 30 minutes of ball work, 30 minutes of the time. We had this like Corver VHS. It's like, you got if it was cold outside or the winter, it's like you're going to do the Corver, follow along on the Corver VHS.
He had a plan for you.
Totally. I mean, he was insane. And which is kind of funny because I think at first that worked for my brother. Who's a couple years older, and so my brother was like, okay, at a younger age, dialed in with that. And then as he was maturing and getting more into high school and the social scene, like he just didn't have the mentality. He was a great soccer player at a Division III school, but he didn't have the mentality, so that didn't work for him anymore. And mine was the opposite. I was like, enough, Dad. I'm a kid. Like I was very good at soccer, but I was very athletic and running around, having a good time. And I didn't want any part of that like intensity. Mm-hmm. But he was constantly like harping, gonna go out there and get better. You're gonna get better. You're gonna get better.
Like how?
Anywhere between 8 and 13.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're younger.
I mean, since age of 10, my dad was having me polish my soccer boots and mink oil them before every game. Okay, so we were talking like a 10-year-old is like learning how to brush those shoes and all this stuff. So you can understand this is every night before every game. The way that we prepared and like took care of our gear was like, those were the life lessons he was teaching us, not like what's 2 + 2 or anything. So
he was a crazy soccer parent. Was he crazy on the sidelines? Was he?
Yeah, he was the dad that was like screaming at us if he didn't think we were playing well enough, and he was screaming at all the other kids too.
Oh no.
So it was pretty embarrassing. But anyway, long story short, yes, around my 8th grade year, I like had enough, and I think there was like a little bit of a rebellion in me as well. Like I wanted to, like, I'm in control of my life, Dad. You're not, and I'm going to quit soccer and show you. But partially, I was like burnout. I'd had enough, and I was playing all the time, traveling on all these boys' teams. And then I also thought I was bound to be a movie star in Hollywood. So I decided to enroll in my first acting class, and 6 months later, I realized that went horribly wrong. And that was about the amount of time that I needed away from the game. Really allowed me to like, as much of reflection as you're doing at 13, but it allowed me to realize, okay, I love the game. I miss it. I miss like the trainings. I miss my friends. I miss the process of like trying to get better. And I, it made me feel good. Like I was good at the game.
Yeah.
So, and so that was a big turning point, because once I returned to the game, prior to that, I'd always had the goals of playing on a World Cup or Olympics, but they kind of got pushed to the wayside because my dad was constantly harping on me, do more, play better, this and that. And so I can like really feel like if that was yesterday, that was a huge turning point, because from that point on, like I was out training all the time in the backyard on my own, trying to get as many juggles as I could, work on my ball skills, passing, everything. And I just loved it. And from then on, like it's like kind of hilarious when people are like, oh, enjoy the process. That was my favorite. It was like,
wow.
Like how can I improve? I mean, even till 34 years old when I retired, 35, it was like, how can I strike this ball better? You know? And so it was like the little details.
Yeah. How do you think, like, if you think about your dad and going through that time, now you're older, you're working with kids and their parents, and so you're seeing that dynamic and with a different perspective. What do you think your dad was going through in those 6 months that you stopped? And then when you came back to the game, was he crazy again, or had he backed off?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, we still use that nickname in a love joking manner because he's wild, but no, he was still crazy. To be honest, like, I mean, I get why parents, you know, they want their kids to be successful. They want them to be good soccer players. I understand that, and that's what my dad wanted. Like, my dad, I don't think has any clue what's going on with soccer now. You know, like, it was like that was really his way. Like, just because my brother played in an awesome D3 school, and I played at the World Cup and Olympics. He doesn't love either of us different. I mean, he's extremely proud of both of us. It was just his way of helping us succeed. He knew, I think, some of his own limitations, and so he was like, okay, well, how can I be the best father for them? Now, granted, there could have been some, like, he was a little psycho, but he was like, I want to help these kids and teach them lessons in a way that I know how, and that just happened to be through the game of soccer. But yeah, he was still crazy when I returned to the game and would push me.
Was he still your coach?
No, but in that time. And the one thing I really, really valued about my upbringing and like with my dad's craziness at the same time, though, when he was our coach, he was crazy. But you know, after like 13 years old, he wasn't my coach anymore, and he was always incredibly respectful to the coaches. It was like, there was no like him going and like talking to the coach like, what's going on here? No, I mean, he just demanded a level that he thought was acceptable for us or him, but it was always geared towards, it wasn't like delusional about our play or the level that we could get to.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It didn't seem like he was. I think a lot of times the real crazy soccer parent is trying to live vicariously through their child. It doesn't sound like your dad was doing that. He was just trying to hold you to a high standard in soccer and life and everything.
Absolutely. Exactly. I think that's a clear way to put it. 100%.
Yeah. How's your relationship with him now?
Oh, awesome. I mean, we were just all home a couple of weeks ago. It was my step-grandma's 90th birthday. And so all of us were together and just like tons of laughs. And he's just like, So, and it just like, you know, in some ways, looking back, I'm like, well, that was crazy. I was polishing my shoes and stuff, but I carry that discipline and that those habits to my daily life now, and my approach, the way that I approach the game up until I retired, and the way I approach my life, and that's what I think that's why. And especially too, because I think a lot of people get skewed when it comes to like success. You know, we always think it's like this linear path, and I can't tell you how many no's I had or not yets compared to the yeses when it came to national team or just in life in general. And it was those habits, that approach that I learned early on about being diligent, respecting the game, respecting your craft, and that I've carried on, that helped me overcome those hurdles.
That's great.
So I think that's been huge for me.
You know, it's always fun to talk about crazy soccer parents because we deal with them all the time. So I love hearing these stories. And I don't think your dad was a crazy soccer parent. I mean, you can give him that nickname, but I think there was he found the balance there.
Yeah, he did. Oh, and now he's like, wash his hands. He's like, oh, great, my kids they're doing well. They're good members of society. I did my job. And he's like, oh, what do you do now, Lori?
That's great. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your stories with us. We appreciate it. We all have a lot to learn. And, you know, it's through stories like this that we can all gain some perspective as we're trying to navigate this soccer parenting world. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.